Well, alrighty, kids. There you go. There you are. There you have it. I apologize. I'm sorry. I haven't touched those things in quite a while, and it shows. So sorry about that. It is I, the Great Baldini, and you are you, and I'm glad that you're here. There's not many of us anymore, but that's that's kind of the way we like it. So anyway, welcome, and yeah. So if you came here from some other place, then you probably know what we're going to do. If not, I'm going to give you just a quick update on the health thing, and then just kind of take a look around. It's a crazy state of the world with some friends of mine, Jenny and David, right? And they're going to hop in, and we're going to talk about some just kooky stuff, just kind of off the cuff. We were just talking earlier and said, you know what, we should stream, so we're going to do that. So anyway, welcome. Thanks for coming. Glad that you're here. And again, I am the Great Baldini, as you may know or remember, and you may or may not be happy about that. But don't panic because, like I said, I'm going to give you a quick health update. I was for quite some time, and have been not doing particularly well in the health department. Uh, Learning more, as we go along. So basically, ultimately, we got at least one diagnosis: myalgic encephalomyelitis. Yes, it's a big mouthful. A subset of chronic fatigue syndrome. Without getting too deep into it, basically, it's a progressive degenerative neurological condition, and likely, I mean, can't say 100% for sure, but likely probably began along about the same time as the synovial cyst that I got on my back, which caused me to get surgery like almost 14, 15 years ago now. A lumbar laminectomy, 5S1, because of a synovial cyst, which caused an impingement on the ganglion nerve root there. So it was like winning the pain lottery, getting like 30,000 pinched nerves at once. Anyway, no problem with my discs or anything like that, but that was the surgery that they gave me. Anyway, thereafter, caused a lot of problems, and they had given me so much Neurontin, gabapentin. It was new, and they weren't really giving opioids at the time, and so it was a nerve blocking agent, and it caused a number of things, and I think that's probably the precursor to this. Anyway, symptoms, just part of the getting subset of chronic fatigue. It causes, at least in me, one of the primary symptoms being orthostatic intolerance. That means that any moving around whatsoever is sort of like running a marathon, and you just can't, your body cannot recover. And so you're wiped out all the time, which I would probably push through. The problem is that creates a cycle of push and crash, and so what my crash looks like is intractable vomiting. It's not really nausea so much as like a cramp, but it's many, many times a day. If I don't manage it 15, 20 times a day, it's brutal. And so as part of that management, one of the things, one of the treatments has been using a medication called amitriptyline, which I was kind of unfamiliar with prior to that, but we addressed it as though, well, you've heard me talk about the belly brain before, and so this is kind of treating it that way as an abdominal migraine, and weirdly enough, it actually really helped, and so as we did that, began to up the dosage, and it began to manage it pretty well, along with ondansetron, which is like an anti-nausea, except again, not much in the way of nausea, but if I get it in just at the right time, often it does. 65-70% of the time, prevent me from, hurling. Sorry to be so graphic. That's just kind of how the way the cookie crumbles here. I'm just trying to be honest, give you the update. Anyway, however, I got, and you probably, if you're here, you've probably heard me talk about this previously, last year, I guess it was. I got, well, it was shortly after the death of my mom, and then I had oral surgery, and then I got some other thing, and it appeared like late stage Parkinson's. Really a lot of tremors, could barely walk. It was really quite bad, and we could not at that point figure out what was going on. It looked like I was collapsing, and so there was some plans made, right? Like we didn't know how long I'd had. This was a new twist, and so not really scared so much as trying to cover a bunch of bases. And then it turned out that it did respond well, to stress. And so if I could reduce the stress, then many of those symptoms kind of I wouldn't say went away, but they diminished. So tremors now are much less. I have fewer of the little seizure things I was having. So it's, I guess better in that sense. It's still, progressing, but it's not as dramatic as it was. And so I kind of canceled, or at least postponed, the last minute, the last huzzah, trying to go, see everybody the last time, and thought, well, we're going to dig in and try to get, healthy a little bit. And so doing, a lot of natural stuff, niacinamide, and a bunch of B12, B complex stuff, which helps with the myelin sheath growth and some other stuff, without getting too deep into the woods off there. But ultimately, was doing better. And then because of the insurance changing, they that made just a huge mess, and I didn't have a primary care physician. And in the post, I hate to even say the word, it doesn't matter, but in the post-pandemic world, things take forever. And so trying to get a new doctor was like 10 months out, and it is just a mess. And so ran out of my amitriptyline, the medication that was helping me, and then didn't realize until that point that it has a withdrawal component. And so without being able to get it replaced, one of the withdrawal symptoms is intractable vomiting. So it was really bad there for a while, and my poor little wife was just beside herself, thinking that it was going to go real bad, real south, real fast. Fortunately, again, Dad provides. Able to kind of get some things going along. I still my appointment for a primary care physician for over a year now is still it's next Saturday, the 29th. And I had to get a Saturday appointment. That's how crazy it is. But I did manage to see a neurologist, and we're trying to get some tests done, but everything is just going really slowly. However, like I said, mitigation to some degree, and so at least I think I'm able to kind of maybe do this, maybe, right? Other things are not, particularly great in terms of, obviously still trying to get a disability claim, and that's all messed up. And so, money is always messed up in this world, but especially, we've been, short every month. And so I basically sold off, or mostly sold off most of my audio gear, and so I didn't even have a way to set up for a while. And then so I kind of just cobbled some stuff together. I was talking to Jenny and David earlier this evening and said, hey, maybe I'll see. I think I have a few things, so I did put together some stuff, so I can talk to you now. And so here we go. I'm here. I don't know. I'm going to say I'm back, but we're going to try this again because I missed you, right? And we're going to talk about just other stuff. So enough about me, right? Let's talk about some other things going on in the world. We had an election here in the U.S., and that made things crazy. Everybody picking sides, and again, I would just I don't know. My overall thing on this, right, is that the admonishment that we're given from Jabro, right, and I think that's always a safe place to go, is be not deceived, right? And I guess I would remind some things that I've learned through my life. And again, I can't tell anybody what to do or how. I'll just say, right, only a friend, only someone that you trust can betray you. All right, ask me how I know. So be careful in whom you put your trust. And I don't say that to, ask you to not be friends with people. That's not the point at all. Just here's another great bit of wisdom from, ancient wisdom for a modern world, right? Is above all else, guard your heart. For from it spring the well springs of life, right? So, hope deferred makes a heart grow sick, right? I mean, all the wisdom that I've learned along the way comes in handy, right? When the chips are down and things are difficult. Oh, another great thing, just random here, I see part of it is neurologic stuff. It also affects my noggin. And so it does come along with, unfortunately, slower processing, memory issues, right? So if I seem somewhat like a dullard, if I stutter, if I get lost a few times, bear with me. It's kind of comes with the territory. I don't like it either, right? I really don't like it at all, and I haven't wanted to come sit in the chair for quite a long time because I don't feel like I'm me, and I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to disappoint me. And again, I'm not going, oh, poor me. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just saying I didn't I don't want to be a drag. You know what I mean? I always hate being a turd in the punch bowl. So I want to be encouraging and helpful. But now at least I think I can be of some help, hopefully. So anyway, that's why I'm here, just to be helpful, encouraging, and to say if you are if you are in this world, and certainly if you are trying to follow the way in this world, I would strongly suspect that you probably are having troubles right now, and probably some troubles like you have never seen before. And it stands to reason, because as we move forward, it does appear, right, as we get closer and closer to what seems to me to be the culmination of things, that then all of the prognostication given to us would then be, stands to reason that that would be fulfilled. One thing that I have noted is there's been a lot of people, and a lot of people I like and I like listening to. I don't listen to many people much these days, of any type, but a lot of talk going around about the little season, right? That we may be in that. I'll just have to say, without getting too much into it now, and again, we can do a talk at some point. I think not, right? And I see why they might think that, right? But what J. Bro again said was that not one jot nor tittle shall pass until all is fulfilled, and so you have to have all fulfilled, and you can't jump around, right, and pick and choose. And so if you go, oh, I like this and I like that, and I see this and that, yes, but if I were to say the whole thing, right, the universe that we live in, and this is consistent with everything that I've said before, is a holistic fractal universe, right? A realm, right? That we live in a realm that is holistic and fractal, and in keeping the nature of that, right? If you stay in that mindset, and keeping with that, and in the whole idea of morphic resonance and all that it entails, then again, it stands to reason that, like many things, and I've seen this throughout Christendom, and throughout the study of eschatology and study of prophecy, that some things are fulfilled multiple times and in multiple ways, right? Like the prophecies of Isaiah and Jeremiah, that you could say, oh, it was fulfilled during this period, or you can even go to Daniel, right, and go, oh, 72 AD, we got this. However, right, the story continues, and then you can't put it all together, and so it would seem as if part of the story was, but does the story really break? Does it really go from one to the next, or is it much like, again, this idea of a fractal and holistic nature, that each part, right, is you see over and over again. I know maybe I'm going too deep in the woo here, but just in the same way that I see the nature of the Creator in all of His creation, in a similar way, I see all of the things that link together and are put together. So while I understand the desire to want to be there, especially if, the whole little season thing from the Book of Revelation, kind of the basis of what they're basing it on is the idea of Tartaria mud flood, and there was an event that happened that they scrubbed from history, and that was it, right? But again, I struggle with that, because you'd have to fulfill all the things, and they didn't, right? So there can be a portion that was fulfilled in a way, but it doesn't mean one part is here and then one part is here and one part is here. It means it's going to happen. That's my view, right? So don't don't count on me. I'm nobody, but the way I'm seeing it, right, is that it's gonna happen just the way it says. And again, number one thing, don't be deceived, right? So everybody thinks they've got a handle on it, and I'm going to come back to this. The beginning of wisdom is, I don't know. So I don't know for sure, but it does appear, right, that we are moving closer and closer when we have all the things occurring that line up like the dominoes, right? So now we have the things such as, it's not what I'm calling it, it's what they're calling it, right? The ultimate AI, sentient AI, that they, want to have run the world, called the beast, right? Because it's a beastie thing. Wow, that's unusual, huh? And they want to give it a body, and he should give breath to the beast so that he might speak. So all these things are kind of coming along, right? And even though, we have the election, everybody's excited, right? Again, I'm not telling you who to trust. I'm just saying, but bear in mind, right, one of the big announcements, along with all the things that we probably like, is, $500 billion investment in AI, right? And we know kind of where that's going, or at least strongly suspect where that's going to end up. So again, you can only be betrayed by your friends. by someone you care for and trust. Anyway, so a lot of stuff going on, right? So Middle East, obviously, that's going to be a key component according to Scripture, right, of what happens. And it looks as if, and it has for a while as I watch things, all the sides, people are lining up to take sides, right? And so as they do so, right, all the things kind of line up, and we can see all these things fulfilled. And for many years, I kind of have been at a place where I put it down, eschatology, mostly in the, gosh, late 80s, early 90s, just going, I don't think that you can really, I think, in Daniel it says seal up the book. It doesn't say that in Revelation, although there is the hidden seal up the seven thunders and don't write it down. But otherwise it says don't seal it up, right? But they are so intertwined that I think that you cannot really understand Revelation without Daniel. And Daniel's closed until the end. So my take on it was that you couldn't really understand it until until Daniel began to be unwrapped, and then at that point you'd go, oh gosh, I totally see it. And I think that's kind of how it's going. That's what I see now. I've got some really interesting stuff for a later conversation that ties, retie, I guess would tie again, goes back to the book of Isaiah and his prophecies, and because of the way that some things are laid out in the book of Revelation, and it opens up some very interesting things. However, there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on. This is where I want to bring in my friends David and Jenn and see how they're doing. Get that festivity out of the way, and I want to show them some cool stuff and see what they know about it. So if I can, give me just a minute here. I think I am. Let's see. I think I gotta go here. Stand by. I'm kind of running slow these days, so give me just a moment. I think I want to undo that so that I can do this. Hello, come on, work with me here. Dun, 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 dun. Can I do that? Oh, why have you failed me? I'm looking for the it won't go to the chat window so that I can make the lovely little call. I don't know why it wants to do that. Can I not do that? Why? Let's try it from here. Will that work? Sorry, kids. I apologize. I thought I had everything kind of Windows going here, and it just I must have inadvertently closed the window. Okay. That. Oh dear. It's just so. I'm so sorry. Okay. So what? Oh. Oh, I don't want that. That's so dumb. Okay. So now sorry, it's going to send me. Okay. This, and then I have to do this. It's sending me a code here, right? So, I hate two-factor authentication. I really, really do. All right. Okay. So there's that. And then hopefully that will, yes, allow me to get into this. And then I want that. And then, but I don't want that. Oh, dear Lord. No, I don't want that. So frustrating. Just so. So it logged me in instead of me. It logged me in as Great Baldini, which does not have that chat. It's just so. Oh, it's so dumb. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, so. Oh, come on. Why? Why won't it show me? Oh, God. There we go. Oh, dear Lord. All right. We're starting that. Hopefully here. Okay. Oh, this is so dumb. hope they're still around. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. Maybe they just gave up on me, which is cool. I mean, I would. Hey,
Hello.
kids. Hey, David. It is I, the Great Baldini.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I hope you're not naked, because I have you on stream live and in person.
No,
So
I'm not good.
you look good, brother.
Oh, thank you,
Hey,
thank you.
man. It's good. Good to
I've been
good to see you.
I've been growing my hair out. Let me go ahead and mute Jenny's computer. She was she had to take the baby upstairs. She
Oh,
started turning up right there at the
little
end.
weenie. Yep.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
It's past her bedtime, and she starts to get a little funny and starts to clown around, and then she starts to get pretty ornery.
Yep.
Yeah,
They do that.
yeah,
Ask me how I know.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, she's doing great though, man. She's her hair is almost down to her waistline now. Her long
Oh,
blonde hair and
awesome.
her little teeth. I'm not sure if she's gonna be a three set of teeth baby or two, but she's got her first set she's got is already starting to kind of rot a little bit, and we're a little worried about that. We do that remineralizing paste that Joelle has.
Oh, uh huh. Yep.
We we put that on there, and she seems to like it, but I'm not sure if it's like we're pissing up rope or something, because they're gonna fall out anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, we've been doing good though, man. We're loving the new house. We got neighbors that just moved in, and they're putting up a privacy fence. So we're hoping to cut down with the wind. Like they say Chicago's the windy city, but like this place here, I swear it's got a 20-mile-an-hour wind nonstop.
Whoa.
The back, yeah, it's nonstop, dude. You can hear it just whistling nonstop all the time. The wind. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of ridiculous. Our friend Connie came over and she's like, "Oh, I got a kite." And she had a purse kite, and I'm like, "You're the first person I've ever seen to have that." I always said we should have a pocket kite, and she
Oh
pulled it
yeah.
out. She was flying a kite in the
Man,
backyard.
that's so wild. 'Cause way back in the day, you remember those bat kites?
Yeah.
Yeah, those vinyl bat kites. So they made a small version. You could just roll up. They rolled around a stick, right? And
Mhm.
there was two sticks, and it made a cross. You put them in the plastic. One went down the horizontal spine, and the other went across, right, and held out the tip.
Mhm.
And it was small. I mean, maybe 2 foot, right, by 2 foot, and a good string. And my brother and I always had those things in the car. And we on a windy day, we'd just go out there. Um, so in the let's see, what year would this have been? Like 1981, 82, something like that.
Wow.
We would go.
That's the year Jenny was born,
God.
1980.
So the school we went to a little parochial school, a private school there in Texas, high school. They called it an academy. Anyway, we went from like 7 in the morning, and we got out at noon because most of us had a job. But
Oh yeah.
my brother and I would go take the boat out and to the Brazos River, and it was like glass. And so we usually take a couple of classmates out there and ski all afternoon until we just got tired. And pretty good back in the day. I could not do it now. The last time I went out with my brother, he's probably still does it. He's what 62 now.
Wow.
Holy crap! Anyway, yeah, he last time I went out with him, he took me out barefoot water skiing, and I did all right. But the next day, I hurt so bad. I
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
move for a week, and I was like 35. That was 20 plus years ago, man. So
Wow.
yeah, no way could I do it now. But anyway,
Yeah.
we as kids we used to always have these kites. We used to always have stuff with us because no internet, no cell phones. We always had interesting things to do.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
But
uh,
see,
some of
see,
them
I
were
was
legal.
yeah. I was that age where I didn't have a cell phone till I was 19 years old, and it was like an old Nokia brick phone. It was a solid brick phone,
Mm.
and I remember my mom finally upgraded, and she gave me her old Nokia, which was a flip phone. And one day I went to close it, and the keyboard folded in half instead of the hinge.
Uh oh.
I went to fold it in half, and the keyboard broke in half instead of the hinge. I was like,
Oh.
"Oh wow!" Yeah, I was like, "I got to upgrade." And that was back when the you could get it when the Androids, but they would die in like 2 hours, and they would get hot as hell. They would get red hot.
Yeah. And that's
Back
so
in the day.
so weird to me because I'm thinking, oh, I didn't get a cell phone until well, I got one for work, and I would have been what 30, 31 or
Joe, dude.
something.
I mean, I was 19, and like I played the snake game on it, where the snake would go around and
Oh
you
yeah,
got to
we
eat the fruit.
that
You
that
couldn't eat
even
your
yeah that's even after this. This goes way back. It would
yeah.
have been 1995, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, way a long time ago.
What?
I don't know if Jenny's gonna make up. One thing I want to share with you and share with the peeps. And again, first, well, I would like her, here for this part. Just going. One of the things I want to tell anybody who has made it this far and still listening, and certainly for you and Jenny as well, right? Is that while I've kind of been hidden under a rock, and it has been really difficult, going. Again, I'm not complaining.
Yeah,
It's a
we pray
there's
for you
reasons I've
daily,
not
bro.
been around, right? So, but you guys have been just phenomenal in staying in touch with me and not let me kind of fall over the cliff. And
Uh,
David Best and Daryl Davis, a number of folks, but really,
Daryl Davis is doing God's work.
dude,
He,
he certainly is, man, and
he's doing
he's
God's work.
saved my life.
Shout out.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
mine too. A lot of times.
seriously, yeah, like
He
his
supplements my income. I'll just say that.
uh,
Wink, wink.
yeah,
He's a very good man.
yeah. Um, but yeah, yeah, for me, just saved my life, like literally, like his generosity, for which I'm immensely grateful. But you guys as well, just calling me and staying in touch and continuing, to be my friend. You know, a lot of
Yeah,
people,
man.
you know, uh, kind of, I don't know, at times believe whatever they want to believe, and I just didn't feel like it was worth
Well,
fighting. I'd
well,
rather fight for my life, right, than
well,
um, other people. So,
I don't want to bring up anybody out of turn, but your former co-host of the Poppycock, she's not even a flat earther anymore. She
uh,
turned code. She's
oh,
full blown globe earther now.
I didn't know that. I knew
Yep.
that Jaren had done
She
that.
followed Jaron Suit and Robbie Davidson and Patricia Steer, Paul on the plane. Yeah,
Really,
they all turned coded. Yep.
really interesting. Well,
Yes, and they all use the same type of font when they were messaging Mark, because Mark Sargent, God bless him, he puts out a video for me every month to advertise Jenny and Miles meetups. He makes a video and puts it together, and like he shared the emails and stuff, and they all use similar verbiage, if you can say that way.
yeah, that's not so.
And
I
they,
mean, that I guess that it's new. It's not surprising to me. Again, I haven't followed along, but yeah, I just
mm,
um, yeah, again, I was tempted, and I had a lot of people um, initially, right, go, you need to come out and tell your side, blah blah. I'm like, but people, believe what they want anyway. And frankly, if I had, and this is, I guess, the hardest part, right, is
mhm.
that even so, despite everything that occurred, I still care about even the people that did wrong. And if
Exactly.
I
Like I
if I
for
were to
Jaron every day, man.
if I were
I
to
pray.
break out all the receipts, right, I could prove my point, and but it would just make every like it would hurt feelings for no reason all over again, right? And it's not going to help because people who made up their mind that they wouldn't, they're going to believe what they want to believe anyway, right? So it
What
just doesn't. There's no point, right?
what did Jay Bro say? Answer not evil for evil, but render unto evil good.
Yeah, again, I just yeah, I prayed about it, right, and just felt like, look, I'm in the fight for my life, literally for my life, and I can't spend an ounce of energy on chasing, lies and allegations and slander down, right? And everything that I heard about it, right, everything that came back to me was like, anybody that believes that is either a terrible researcher, right, or just dumb, because
Yeah.
because it's all right out there, and so anyway, I don't want to like that. To me, that's all past and gone. It's just, but a sad chapter because people I cared about, right? And to see kind of what's happened now, and some of them I am not surprised, right? Because of things that happened earlier, but I kept my mouth shut. Again, had I said anything at the time, everybody would have been mad, just like they are when nobody's mad as about the person lying to them. They're mad about the person who tells you that they're lying to you, and
Yeah,
so
you
and
shoot
they're
the messenger.
yeah. So there's just no point. And like, again, I'm not trying to dig up any dirt or mud, and I don't. I'm gonna leave everybody's name out of it, right? Just so
Hmm.
like I said, just for me, there's still pain because I love love the people, but um, I didn't want. I find no reason to hurt them just because they hurt me, right? That just isn't who I am, and so I just kind of keep going with my thing, right? But in terms of that, and if anybody had any question about which way I would land on that,
Yeah.
that um, you know, the, once my eyes were open, it wasn't any of those. I wasn't following any of those people anyway, right? It wasn't because of anything
Yeah.
anybody else said that led me to my conclusions. I got to the conclusions on my own, and then I was already deeply disappointed that when there became a fractious nature, and people started talking about how to use the word experiment and whether or not there was an aether, and the fractious and again, highly polarized nature of it. Excuse me for breaking
Yeah.
all the puns out
Yeah.
here,
No
but
pun intended.
yeah, but was deep. It was deeply saddening to me because not just that it was happening, but that it clearly indicated that a vast majority of the people that were in the air quote movement or whatever didn't know. Just like I had discovered, at 16, 17 years old about Christianity, people they don't know what they believe. They just believe in
They don't.
somebody, and then they take on that, so they believe in somebody's interpretation of it. And so if they get convinced, and it is true about most things, right? That people don't usually make decisions based on reason or intellect. It's an emotional decision, and then they
Mhm.
justify it with a reason. It's
Yeah.
a well-known psychological phenomenon, right? It's not. I'm not. Again, it's not a defamatory or in any way, um, you know,
And
mock.
it's the same principle. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. It's easier to do whatever you want to do and then think about it later and either apologize or say, "Oh, I did good," than it is to think it out and actually
Well,
enact your
yeah, and
plan.
that is, and that's a probably a secondary phenomenon, which is that all the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, right? We always
Yep.
justify everything we do, but
Mm.
the idea of cognitive reinforcement, right, is something that goes way back in marketing that we've known it for ever. Like the guys that wrote marketing and propaganda, right?
Bernays.
So basically, like for example, you buy a car, you're going to tell people, "Oh, I did the research on it, right?" Blah blah. But you buy the car because you like the car, and then you justify it with all the other stuff. Most people don't even, they get the brochure with the car,
Uh,
and then they use it to show other people, right? So
mhm.
they justify their decision,
Yeah.
and that is true with most things, right? We make emotional decisions and justify it intellectually, and this is even true, right? With again, with beliefs, and I would say it's something that I've noted for years with Christianity, for example, and I always hesitate to use that word because it's got a label to it, which carries so much stigma now because it's been misused by in its entire history. Um, but this sort of uh, premise that as we kind of again, a bunch of stuff going on, right? Is that the biggest obstacle to Christianity are Christians,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, an Orthodox Christian, a Catholic, a Presbyterian, and a Reformed Baptist walk into a room. What much are they going to agree upon except that Jesus is the Lord?
Well, and
Like,
maybe not even that, right? Is he God,
no, maybe
right?
not even that.
Right. So, yes. So, and I always get a kick out of the idea that remember that a heretic is somebody that believes almost exactly the same as you, right?
Oh, that's
Because
exactly what
anybody
you
else,
believe.
right, is just apostate. I mean, they're just
I
a
mean,
heathen. So,
the Molinists and the Calvinists,
yeah,
right? They're
yeah,
both
yeah.
they're both Protestant, Christians, and they're both would say they're Christian, but they believe different things entirely.
well, Episcopal or Anglican versus Catholic light. This is like,
Yeah,
uh,
Catholic life.
right. So, um,
Catholic without the Pope.
right, yeah, just you got the king, right? So yeah, he can do
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, the king is the Pope. Yeah.
But yeah, so again, one of the things that I have kind of hesitated about, and then again, uh, this is a thing that again I've learned is that just because something may not be for me doesn't mean it's not the right way, right? Dad has slapped me
Mm,
around with that several times, right? That
yeah.
how I direct other people is not really any of your business, right? You can see the fruits, you can see the roots by the fruits, right? You'll see
Yeah.
the fruit of the spirit, but how I direct people is not really any of your business, right? And you don't have any authority, right, to tell them what or how to do things unless I tell you to, which is very rare, very hadn't
Yeah.
happened yet. So I mean, I don't expect that it will anytime soon. So, but this, again, that they take this opportunity that they want to do apologetics, right? That's kind of what I'm getting to, and I've been kind of again a him haw about apologetics. I'm not a big fan of it because I don't think that anybody ever became a Christian because they lost the argument. And then on the other
No.
hand, I can read C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity, and it's one of the best treatises on Christian apologetics I've ever. I mean, every time I
Amen.
open it up, I'm just
It's
like,
so good.
oh my gosh, and he is so erudite, as I mean, so lucid, and brings to fore all these clear, convincing, obvious arguments, right? They're obvious prima facie, just right on the surface. It's like, oh, duh, and you go, okay, there is a place for apologetics. It's just not my place. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
my the guidance that I've had once he pulled my head out of my ass and I let go of religion, which I was
Yeah.
raised in, right? And to teach me to love, right? And so that's been my thing since is to try to follow Jesus as best I can. He's my guide, right? And to do as he did and love others, and that'll be enough, right? If I can love people, right, then that is in my observation and my experience way harder than keeping any rules, right?
Yeah.
Loving
Love
loving
people
people who
in
hate you,
spite of people, in
yeah,
spite of the way they act. That's the toughest. Forgive them, Father, for they don't know what they do. Well,
yeah,
that's just so. But to pray for somebody who's persecuting you, like they're literally drawing lots over your clothes because they're going to kill you, and you're praying for them. That amount of care is something that we can't fathom in this realm. I don't think. And I wake up every day and I try to do that, and I fail because you put me in front of Anthony Fauci, and you best believe there's going to be some blood. I'm going to be the most famous man in America. I'm,
oh, oh
I'm
dear.
gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna introduce him to Jesus.
the
you know,
the
and
opinions expressed by the guests do not necessarily are
no,
not
that
necessarily
Great
those
Baldini.
of the Great Baldini or unintended consequences.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'd probably
Yes,
punch him
yeah. The
anyway.
Baldini doesn't, but yes, I'll be happy to take him to the upper room with me.
Just
You
kind of
know, but
yeah,
like, but like Jesus would pray for him and forgive him. And this a lot of people, they want to scream about works. That's been a big thing in the past couple of days. Is like I watch a lot of these debates and they want to talk about works a lot. You got to do all these works. Did the thief on the cross? What works did he do to earn heaven? Did he do anything to earn heaven except believe?
well,
That's all he did.
he did believe in it, and it was against his nature to do so, and so in that moment it was
Exactly.
difficult. And then on the other hand, right, Paul says, you show me, your faith, and I'll show you my faith by my works.
Right,
So
exactly.
I mean, so we get it. We can go round and round on that, and again,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always I'm
exactly.
always gonna I'm always gonna come back to what again Jesus has
Jen
said to
said.
me, right, which is that it's none of your business.
Yeah.
Right. Right, it's like it's that's none of your business, right? You have enough problems of your own. When we get through working at your problems, we can talk about that, but until then, right, that's none of your business. And anyway, that's my experience, right, is that he keeps me pretty clean on that, right, that I don't I don't have to worry too
Yeah,
much about correcting other people, right?
and the one that bothers me so much is, for him that knows to do good and doesn't do it, for him that is sin.
Yeah.
The book of James says, like, I gotta do good. It's like I'll know.
Oh man,
It's you know,
I struggle with this, right? I love coffee. I love food. I make I like of late, right? I'm counting how we struggle because I only like the really good 40% heavy cream, and the only place I can get it is Costco. And now that the car is dead, it's a hassle. I have to take an Uber everywhere, which obviously costs money, and so we limit that is to the very very critical stuff, and so only happens like twice a month, and so I have to calculate exactly how much cream that I use in each cup of coffee and how many I'm going to have during the day, so I can have exactly the right amount, right? I mean that's how. And then I come back to this, right? I go, who these people, right, whose God is in their belly, and I'm like, oh dear, oh
oh
dear.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I struggle with all kinds of stuff like that, right? Or, for example, because of the myalgic encephalomyelitis and the fact that it makes me, incredibly, in orthostatic intolerance, I can barely do anything. Then, go to the ant, thou sluggard. Like, oh dear, right? So, and so many of the things I'm so behind on, I feel so guilty, but I know that I can't. But I'm like, how much is it like? Uh, so we guilt trip ourselves. I try not to, right? But anyway, my point being on all this stuff, right, is that as Scripture says on this, right, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, and that's my intention, right? It's not my deal to bag on anybody or tell anybody who to listen to, right, or who they shouldn't listen to. I've got my take on whether little season or not, but I encourage everybody to go study it for yourself, and more than anything, right, pray about it, right? The Spirit will lead you into all truth, right?
Yeah.
And so if there is a question, right, just be sure, right? Just be sure, and because I can't say like I don't know, like I don't want to be the one to be like, oops, I kept people out of the kingdom because I was a hard hit, right? That I don't want that, on my hands. So, but I just say in my in my observation and my experience, and I've spent a lot of time studying it. And again, it's not that I want to get deep into that right now. I don't.
Mhm.
It's that there's a lot of things going on, right? And there's a lot of distractions. That's really what I want to kind of get into, right? Is that there, like here we are on the verge of World War III. Everybody's openly talking about it. It's not a ephemeral idea anymore, right? It is here. It's already a hot war. It's already happening, and it's been happening for a while. So it's not what if. These aren't just like thought experiments anymore. This is happening, and so we've got this going on. We have you know prophetic things that anybody by themselves. Daryl, hey man, great to see you. We were singing your praises earlier, both of us
Yeah, Daryl
doing the
Davis,
Lord's
what's
work,
up,
man.
brother?
Anyway,
Yeah, doing the Lord's work.
exactly.
God bless
I've
you,
been meaning to
brother.
call you, and just give you a hug, because I've been.
We got a package on your way, brother, soon. Me and Jenny do. We got
So all right. So in any case, there's all these things going on, each of which by themselves we would be going, holy crap, right? And so I try to organize. I've got all these folders, right, and I put things in them to go. All these things are happening. Specifically, some of them I'm looking for, including the four horsemen, right? And one
yes.
of the ones that people can interpret however they want. They can put things on there, but the fourth horseman, right, the death, with you got war and famine that could have come at any time, and beast, right, and that's the one that's going to be like, well, you kind of can't fake that, right? I mean, all
Yeah.
the others, you can kind of go either way, but that's going to be one that you're going to notice. And over the
Yeah, I mean,
last,
animals are pretty timid around us now. Once they start
well,
turning, they're not scared. You're gonna notice that.
well,
Yeah, I
over the
agree.
last 4 or 5 years, though, there's been many hundreds of very new and out of character behaviors, right? We have orca that are sinking boats. We have bears
Yes.
that not just the ones who are being encroached on, but they're going hundreds of miles out of their way to mess with humans on purpose,
Yeah.
right?
There's the first ever coyote death. A
Yeah,
girl was killed by two
yeah,
coyotes.
so it's happening a lot with a lot of different critters, right? And so this got my attention. I'm like, wow, it's really those things are really happening. And then, right, so there's stuff going on, in and amongst the Catholic Church, and again, you can get into that forever. That's a rabbit
Yeah.
hole forever. You can go into the, Illuma Verinati. You can go into that for days and days, right? And weeks, and we have all of us who are sitting around the campfire here. We've all been there, right? And what's going on with that? We got the political intrigue, right? Which is it's fractious, but it's also again, don't. I mean, I just want to warn people. Right? I want to be cautious because again, I would say I don't know anything, but I'll give you my instincts, right? Which is be careful, right? Be careful because it's not going to come from your enemy. It's going to come from your friend. That
For they love not the truth, so God sent them a strong delusion
that
so
they
that they
should
may
believe a
believe a
lie.
lie.
Yep. And so, just again, be cautious, right? Be cautious where you put your foot, and the only one you can trust is Dad, right? And Jay, bro. Not even me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, all I
Look,
can do is just tell you, hey, like my encouragement. But, um, right?
if you put in Jesus' name, he will show up. It
Yep.
may not be what you're expecting, but he will show
Yep.
up. I swear on it.
With all these things, right? Just bring it to Dad, and that was to that
Thanks.
earlier painful topic, right? That's all I said at the time. Take it to Dad, right? If you have any questions about my character, right, or what I've said, take it to Dad. Go ask him. I trust him, right? I don't think he'll
Look,
lie to you. And if you get something else, I know that you're who you're listening to, so I'm good, right?
yeah,
And
but,
so
but,
I can
but,
wash my hands of the whole thing, going, my I sleep well, right?
but,
Like I,
yeah, the blood's not on my hands.
yeah,
If at the watchman on the wall, if we see it and we don't warn you guys, and then you die, it's on us. But if we tell you, we've told you, right? Like Baldini, he's told you for years. I've been trying to come out and tell you, like,
you're
that
good
it's
trying to come
coming.
out. Oh no,
No, not like Caitlyn Jenner. No, not
no,
like
all
that.
right, no,
But no, it's the times. But people's biggest delusion is that we're not in Bible times. They think that the things that happened in the Bible were exclusive to back then, but they're not.
yep,
They
and
happen every
and we
day.
don't even know like really what timeline we're on, right? I'm pretty
We
solidly
we
convinced that
don't.
we don't. It's not 2025, whatever it is. It's not
Daniel could
that.
have lived 600 years ago for all we know.
Yeah, and
You
I
know.
mean, and it certainly makes sense. I mean, look, if there's scripture which gives timelines, right, and gives you some math, well, the first thing you're going to do is try to confuse people so they can't do the math. It's pretty. I mean, and they, the enemy's going to do everything he can to make it confusing, right? But again, I'll just go back to this that the Spirit will lead you into all truth, and so
Yeah,
I don't have to worry, right? I mean, I do. I say worry. I'm very intent, right? I don't want to be caught off guard and unaware, but right, um, things are interesting like this. I don't know if you can see the screen right now, bro. Um, what I'm showing here, part of which is your face, but I'll move that. So just in the last couple of weeks, right, this deal with the synthetic aperture radar tomography that they did on the pyramids,
hmm
basically at the Giza
Oh yeah,
Plateau.
I was gonna bring that up. We got
So
Jenny. She's here now too.
So this is just well, I was going to say blowing my mind, but it is not like I kind of expected, right, that it would come, and I don't want to use up all these people's work because that wouldn't be cool. But the very basics are right that so the process is real. If anybody has any questions, that's a real thing. The synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography. It's a big mouthful, and it's hard for me to say when I don't have teeth in, right? So it's hard to make sibilants. Even fricatives are pretty difficult, but I'm doing my best. So yeah, it's a real technology that up till recently wouldn't have really worked here. Oh, I hear me. You guys are making out over there. I can see
Yeah,
you.
I just told her she was cute in her ear.
Yeah. You might want to either turn me down. I can hear me coming back through your speaker. So
Oh no.
anyway, so this technology, it is a thing. This synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography, it is a thing. It's not even really that new. It's the application of how they're doing it. Now, of course, they're saying that it is uh, satellite. Of course, we know that is almost certainly balloons, and I could go into more stories about that as well. We'll just leave that alone for now. But high altitude, right? High altitude imaging, and they're using it's basically a form of Doppler radar that they overcome the fact that you cannot see through granite, right? Because of its density and its composition, and also remember that the type of granite that's used in the Great Pyramid, the Khufu Pyramid, is loaded with not only crystals, but metal, and so it is piezoelectric. Right, so that means just like everything else, it works in both directions. So if you introduce motion or strike it, then it will introduce electricity. If you introduce electricity, then it will cause motion in the same way an electromagnet works. So it goes in both directions. So that is the composition. Now it was covered with the limestone covering, but the granite inside very dense, right, and some feldspar at the base. But we couldn't see inside because of that density. And so using things like sonography or that sort of stuff, Doppler imaging didn't really work. But even the stuff from high altitude, the reason that it works is because there are micro movements in the surface, and so now they're using those ever so slight differences, right? And that creates the tomography, and so
All of that creates these micro movements.
yeah, keep going. But oh, hang on, sorry. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, are you there? Oh, what did I do something bad? What did I do? Oh, no. What did I do? Are you on mute? Did I mute you? Okay, well, okay. Anyway, yes. All right. So here, these micro movements in the Earth's surface allow them to basically see inside, and so see if I can find. So there is a paper. Let me come back here. All right. So this paper, originally in Italian, they are looking. They describe this first part as the abstract, and they describe it here. I will drop this in the chat so that you can check it out yourself. This should be translated from Italian. And it goes through first the technology and how they're using it. And so this synthetic aperture radar introduction, right? So it describes the technology, how they're using it, and how they're deriving the information, right? So I can say that the technology itself is a real technology. It's not made up. It's a real thing. The application that they're doing with it makes sense. There's a lot of math here. I don't even know all the math, but what I have looked at does check out. Because these are time domain vibrations, right? So this is very closely related to the work that I do in acoustics and waveform dynamics. And so there's one of the things I love about science, right, is the how holistic again everything is tied together. And so I noted early in my academic career how everything was begun to specialize, and when you specialize you lose access to the knowledge of some of the other disciplines. And so learning things like the inverse square law, right, it covers so many of the fields of science, right? It's all over the place. You use it everywhere. The golden ratio, right, all these things show up everywhere. And so when you begin to integrate them into your thought process and to see like the way Walter Russell called it, the universal one, right? So when you begin to see these things and they appear regularly, then you can have a bit more confidence that what you're looking at is, um, you know, has veracity because you begin to see these things appear over and over. And so that's what we have here, right? So we have these time domain variations, right? And so what they do is basically they look at the differences over time, and so they can create what turns out to be fairly accurate um, using backscatter radar and Doppler, the Doppler effect in there. It's all that math. I'm not going to walk you through it, but the results are mind-blowing. All right, so here you see some of the raw data, right? So this is the interferometer as they go over the Giza Plateau. And one of the things to be aware of here is that it is not just beneath the pyramid itself, but it is throughout the plateau. There is, well, structures underneath the entire plateau, just as, right? Emerald tablets of Thoth, just as we hear from Plato, Solon, right? And so as they go through here, let's jump to the chase. I'm not going to go through all the crazy stuff. You can look at it for yourself. It's hard for me to say without teeth, but what we've got is they're able to basically look inside and get a pretty accurate image, and then they compared those images to things that they already had using other methods, and they overlay pretty much precisely so that we can then check and say, yes, this is an accurate representation because we can overlay what we already know versus this new information. But then we have information that was not otherwise known. So here, this is a comparison, right? This is partially overlapped with the tomographic results. So the one that you see here on the left, this is what they already knew. They overlay that B with the azimuth on the new one, and it overlays pretty much in a 1-to-1. So they are then, we can be fairly confident that what we're seeing is fairly accurate, right? And then as we begin to look, and again, I'm not going to go through all the stuff here. I'm trying to be brief. Some of these videos go pretty deep into it. Some are not so deep. Some of them are just dead wrong. So, but yeah, you can kind of do again some of your own research here. What I want to show you is the really interesting bits here. This talks about the technology and how they arrived at this. And this is the descriptions here. If I go back here and show you some of the visual images, what you see here, the really interesting parts are first, there are not just one but 5 duplicates of what is pretty much the duplicate copy of the king chamber. That is this vertical structure here with the angled roof here and the 5 levels here. And so they would appear from the top, kind of like a star pattern. And then this is the really interesting part underneath. So what you're looking at here, these are wells, essentially, and it is a hydrology feature, so water is included, and I do love the water, and they are circled in a spiraling, there is a spiral staircase that is integrated and goes all the way down into them. How deep do they go, you might ask? That feature goes down about 660 meters. And I didn't.
666?
Yeah, not 666, but they didn't say that, but about 660 meters goes down. But that's not it. That's not all. Underneath that, about 2 kilometers down, all of it, there are then 2, let's see if anybody has images of this here. I think
8 columns?
Yeah, yeah, there are. Well, there are those 8 columns, 4 in 2 rows of 4, right? And back up here a little bit here. So here is the tomography here. You can kind of see this here, and they're going through that. But what really is the kicker? This. So you've got these 8 columns, right? And they go like this. So keep in mind, right, that if we kind of go through this idea that all things are interconnected and we can use the varying laws of physics. Well, certainly what we have here is we have essentially what would be you could see this in any kind of both electromagnetic and hydraulic. If you go to Victor Schauberger, look at his stuff. So in at least two different ways, these would further indicate, much like what we've seen before, that this is a huge energetic machine. But check this out. This is the crazy part. You have these eight well structures going down 660 meters each, with the spiral staircase as an integral part, and then at the bottom, two giant carved of bedrock, but interconnected and with structure inside of them. This goes down to 2 kilometers, right?
Yeah,
More,
1.2 miles or something.
yeah, more than a mile deep
That's freaking
from
crazy. That's
from the
deeper than
Giza
the Cola
Plateau.
Deep Borehole.
Yeah, and then beyond that, it extends not just underneath the Great Pyramid, but it extends throughout the Giza Plateau, as was already, indicated by Solon and many of the writings that go back. And so, very curious stuff here. And again, my source is this, but I can go back and say these scans were originally done in 2021. It was done by an Italian team that are pretty much legitimate guys. One guy has kind of flirted into some UFO research, if that scares you at all, but he seems to be open-minded, right, and not sold on any one thing, which gives me I'm a little bit better with that.
Does Zahi Hawass have anything to do with this research?
I'm sorry, who?
Because does Zahi Hawass have anything to do with this research? He's
No,
the main Egyptologist, and he
no,
is
no,
like,
no, 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 no,
okay, good.
no.
Okay.
No, I know. Yeah, now I know the guy. Now that,
Mhm.
yeah, no, he's
I
not.
figured you would. He's
Yeah,
not. He's no good.
yeah, not involved in this. So
Okay,
anyway, this
good,
is
good.
a
That leads credence to it.
yeah, so fascinating. And again, worth studying. And I would, like to, you know, read through this abstract. Most of the videos that I've seen don't do much more than just touch on the abstract and then look at a couple of guys have made some of these, and everybody's talking over everybody else. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot extra. I mean, again, I would encourage you. Sure, they're all about 20 to 30 minutes, and so it's, I would say, not a waste of time. You can compare and
Yeah.
contrast.
Everybody's made one at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So and again, I'm that's what I said. I don't anticipate that I'm bringing anything really new because it's been out there for a little bit. It was done, like I said, the images were taken in 2021, but they only recently appeared at a conference in late 2024,
Hmm.
and but it was also delivered again in Italian. So I didn't know about it until I saw a thing on it, and then I went and researched it because I don't believe anybody these days. But I was impressed with the research. It's a scholarly paper, peer reviewed for what's that. That usually doesn't do much for me, or maybe even go backwards. But yeah, very very interesting, and certainly consistent, as I said, with my view of it potentially as antediluvian in its history, and certainly um, it destroys any lingering vestiges of copper hammer and chisels and tens of thousands of slaves working constantly with no chips, right? No, there's no granite chips. There's no dragging marks. There's no indication of any of that, right? But there is
Yeah.
indication, as we all know, that it was underwater, likely for some period of time. That certainly is both on the Sphinx and the Great, all three pyramids at the plateau. But the other interesting thing is that hydrology feature, and that's one of the reasons I started looking here, was discovered at two of the other lesser known pyramids in Egypt. And so, as well as a couple of the Mayan temples that have sort of a stair step kind of pyramid structure, they all have this hydrology feature. Now, putting it back together, and this is something I didn't hear anybody mention, but I certainly find it interesting, is that these exact things, specifically uh, a type of granite bedrock that has the crystal formation, as well as metal, right, and water, especially moving water. And ideally for this kind of thing, a underwater reservoir with a above ground spring. That location or that setup, those features are in very many. And I hesitate to say all because I don't get over my skis, but very many of some of the most haunted places on Earth where they consider things to be haunted or have supernatural appearances, manifestations, that sort of thing. All, or well, I say very many of them have those kind of features.
Devil and spirits.
Yeah, exactly, including the temple at Delphi,
Mm.
right? So all of these things, and again, it makes me want to go back and start to look, perhaps even at the some of the known locations of the temples and altars, going back to some of the older mythologies, Baal and that sort of stuff,
Well,
and to see.
well, I think a lot about the demonic princes that have been like the ancient cities that have collapsed. You know, they had
Mm,
princes over them. You know, principalities. I happen to think that Sodom and Gomorrah, the princes that were above them, are the ones that are above St. Paul and Minnesota, the twin cities. Sodom and Gomorrah. I sincerely think that.
I
no,
was going to bring up certain you're bringing up locations. They're not placed
Like,
just anywhere, these
mhm,
like
things.
I,
And I Minneapolis has a weird, there's something going on.
it made me think about that. Like I really think so. St. Paul has like a weird vibe, and I really think the same princes, principalities that were over Sodom and Gomorrah are over St. Paul, Minnesota right now. And that's just my opinion. That thus thinks David. That's not thus thinks says God. You know, that's
yeah,
not like
I'm totally with you. Well, here's my take on it. If you really want to get out in the weeds and over the skis,
mm,
I think, but where the pyramid structure is, as well as many of these other locations, are tied directly into ley lines,
yeah,
and that you would see in done properly, right? What you get is what really looks like the flower of life, right? And
yeah,
you get a mandala, especially when you do it. So you can kind of do it like
over,
this, and if you can kind of imagine that on an azimuthal equidistant map, or
uh,
that one right there,
flat.
right? So then you would have something really interesting. And if you notice right here, look at this one, right? So right over here where I am in Seattle, and then New York, and then down there in Texas, right at the border. So you got some really interesting stuff going on. Anyway, I do think my take on it is that you got, let's see here. So you would have this one, I think, is your central one right there. Is probably, highly engaged, which is the Giza Plateau. And these other ones you'll find, Easter Island is located on that map as well. So I think it's all interrelated. I think is what we're looking at here, right? Um, so
Well, you know where the flat Earth meetup was held at? The Flattoberfest was on the 33rd parallel in Greenville. You
well,
know,
but, well, and
saying
then we could have one in Phoenix, which also is on the 33rd, and Phoenix.
yes, indeed.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm, the research that I've been doing of late, when I've been kind of hiding out under a rock in my hermitage, right, is that again, don't take my word for it. This is how I see it right now. Yeah, I expect I'm wrong, but well, let's just get through it here. I mean, no better time than the present, right? Um,
Yeah,
so in Revelation chapter 11, interesting. A lot of people get all over this in a bunch of different ways, and particularly because we have the two witnesses, and a lot of people have laid claim to being that, or saying that it's not even, it's not people, it's the Old and New Testament, or it's this and that, just like all kinds of crazy stuff.
there's some wackadoo stuff about that.
There's
Yeah.
some wackadoo stuff, right? And without getting into any of that, right? But I do want to go here, right? Because one of the things that I find really interesting is how a lot of people, yeah, especially when it comes to eschatology and looking at Scripture, well, for example, some people are, the Bible is written by men, and it's all this, mythology, mystic stuff. But then they want to quote from it as well and give it authority. So it's either nothing or it's an authority that they can claim. Okay, that's interesting, or right that it is all mythology and that they're going to interpret it, but their interpretation changes to meet whatever they want it to be, and right. So you got to stick to some rules, and so I kind of go with
Yeah.
I try to at least stick to rules, and so for example here, right early on here we have. I was given to read like a measuring rod and go and measure the temple of God and the altar with its worshipers. Okay, so the temple of God, we know it's okay. So exclude the outer court, don't measure it because it's been given to the Gentiles. They will trample on the holy city for 42 months. Okay, so in verse 2, it's referred to as the holy city. Right, as Jerusalem has always been referred to as the holy city. I don't think there's any other that's referred to as the holy city in Scripture. However, when we get to here, right, then we have the two witnesses prophesy for 1,260 days, which is also 42 months, which is also 3.5 years, no matter how you slice it. Okay, so here, when they have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up from the abyss will attack them and overpower them and kill them. Their bodies will lie in the public square of the great city, which is figuratively called Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. Now, everybody then seems to want to read this as, well, Jerusalem, where Jesus was crucified. But how is it the holy city and figuratively called Sodom and Egypt? How are you going to square that? So... right? So we have different ways we've got to look at it. Here's the look at it I'm taking right now. And again, I don't claim to be right. This is just the look that I'm taking right now. Right? Is I'm going to go back here and say, I point my two witnesses, and it says the two olive trees and the two lampstands, and that again goes back to oh God, okay, I'm having a brain fart here. In not Habakkuk. It's one of the minor prophets. Anyway, two olive trees and the two lampstands. It's mentioned 3 times. Anyway, when they say they stand before the Lord of the earth, everybody is interpreting that as standing before God. But I think, note that it's in the quotations here. And even in the Greek, it's a little oddly presented there. And I think there's, again, a possibility that they are brought to stand before the Prince of the earth, the Lord of the earth, right? So they are at war with the enemy, who is Prince of the power of the air. He is the prince of this world. That's the way Jesus described him. And then, right, so I get to this, which is when they finished the great city. And we have mentioned the great city in Revelation a number of times here. One of the things that, again, by inference, here's what I'm getting with this, is I think the great city, right, is, and Babylon, is the modern Babylon, is the United States. And I think that because, not because I'm an American and it's Americentric, right, but because of other things in both Daniel and Revelation where it speaks of the different kingdoms. And here we have one of the kingdoms at the time, and they're all coexisting at this point. So we don't have, like in Daniel, a list of kingdoms that follow together. What we have in Revelation 13 and 17 is that you have 4 kingdoms that are coexisting. So you have one that was like a lion, but it was given the wings of an eagle. But then the wings of the eagle were plucked off, and he was made to stand up on his 2 feet, like given the mind of a man. Well, what does that sound like? Well, what country has the lion? The UK. And who has the eagle? That's the US. And they were given the wings of an eagle because we're a franchise. We never, to me, the whole idea of the independence is nonsense. A bunch of ragtag farmers did not beat the most powerful military on the earth at the time. They just decided the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It's way easier to do wage slaves, right, and make them think that they're free, but then take all their money, which is exactly what they did, because Hamilton immediately began working on a central bank. So, right, we just had a different kind of a king. Anyway, that's my take. You can take it or leave it. But ever since then, right, the people involved all were involved in these secret societies who all venerate and worship Lucifer, and they wanted to start, by their own admission, from their words, they wanted to start the Great Experiment. We have been called that forever, the Great Experiment, the United States. They wanted to remake Atlantis, right? The antediluvian world. They wanted to remake Babylon, and they did. At least in my observations, manifest destiny. That's
A
what
new world order.
right. That's what it was about. And so they built this, and that's what the Statue of Liberty is. That is not a woman. That is Lucifer.
Helios.
And again, that is not even controversial. It's historical. They don't want to say it that much, but it is historical. It was the French guy that made it called it Prometheus. They sent it. They wanted to put it at the entrance to the Suez Canal, and Egypt
Yeah.
didn't want it because they couldn't afford the upkeep, and they at the time they didn't want any of the political
Yep.
nonsense with it, and so they got a bunch of masons together, both in France and New York, to cover the cost and to put out the PR campaign. But look at it. I mean, it's got its chain. It's got a chain. It's a masculine face, and liberty.
Isn't the
No,
other
that's
name
the
the modern
fire.
day
It's
Colossus?
Prometheus stole the fire. I mean, it couldn't be more plain, right? So
Isn't the other name for it a modern day Colossus? And
yeah,
Colossus of Rhodes was the
yes,
Apollo.
yeah.
It was
Exactly.
just
Apollo,
Lucifer,
who is
Helios.
Lucifer, right? Who is Prometheus, who is
Yeah,
Mercury. It's
exactly. The fire
all the
grabber.
same,
Yeah.
right? So it's all the same. Again, this is this is the way I see it. Um, you don't have to buy into it.
Isn't that what liberty means though? Like, and when you get down to it, it's free from the will of God. You're free from like the Ten Commandments.
Well,
You don't have to break from it. Your liberty. You do what you want. Do as thou wilt.
well,
This
yeah.
is Satan's
That is
agenda.
the whole of the law. Do as thou wilt. And what do we call those who become complete degenerates? Libertines. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Libertines, yeah.
right.
You're
So,
libertarian. Do as thou wilt.
but if the Son has set you free, you are free indeed. You see, there's a difference between freedom and liberty. When you're in the Navy, for example, they give you shore liberty, but you're not free, right? They
Yeah.
give you certain liberties, but you're
Yeah.
not free, right?
Yeah.
If
It's
the
not
Son has
freedom.
set you free, you are free indeed,
Free indeed.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, so what I'm getting to here, right, is that I think that figuratively called Sodom and Egypt, right? We are that. What does that have to do with anything? Well, now if we go back and take a look in the book of Isaiah. I'm trying to remember. I think I'm going to start in. I think I'm going to start in 19. Yeah, prophecy against Egypt, right? Which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt.
Mhm.
So we have, and I think there are both. Maybe they're back to back, so I might have to back up and go to the previous. But take a look at this if you guys are interested, right? So note here, on a swift cloud coming to Egypt, the idols of Egypt tremble before him. The hearts of the Egyptians melt with fear. I will stir up Egyptian. Now think of this. I will stir up Egyptian against Egyptian. What if this were American, right? Brother will fight against brother, neighbor against neighbor, city against city, kingdom against kingdom. Didn't we have that? Civil war? The Egyptians will lose heart and I will bring their plans to nothing. They will consult the idols and the spirits of the dead. What happened right after the Civil War? Spiritualism, because people wanted to talk to their dead relatives who died in the war. And that happened from 1865 to about 1910. I will
Yeah.
hand the Egyptians over to the power of a cruel master, and a fierce king will rule over them. The waters of the river will dry up, and the river will be parched and dry. The canals will stink, and the streams of Egypt will dwindle and dry up. Now, that hasn't happened yet, but that goes right along with Revelation 7 through 9, which is why I don't think we can be in the little season yet, right? Because we haven't gotten through all this stuff, right? It all has to happen. Not one jot or tittle will pass away until all is fulfilled, right? You can't pick and choose. That's my position, right? But we have some of the very same language here. Every sown field will become parched and blow away. Fishermen will groan and lament. All who cast hooks into the Nile will throw their nets in the widow will pine away. Everyone will lose hope. The wage earner will be sick at heart. This is exactly the situation that's described in Revelation, right? When Babylon has fallen, right? Is that everything ends. There no more weddings, no more merchants. It's all done. So,
Yeah.
and so we have this, and there are a similar thing here, right? To and the description is so very interesting to me. If you go through and read it, it really does kind of sound like it's describing the U.S., right? It's very, again, I could be wrong, and I'm not trying to be
Yeah, but
Americentric, but what I
in
see
Matthew
here,
24, doesn't Jesus say, it will be like the days of Noah, we'll
yep,
be giving drink and people will be marrying and be married, and it's like they will never see it coming.
in that exactly. Now look at verse 16 here, and tell me if this doesn't cover America right now. In that day, the Egyptians will become weaklings. They will shudder with fear at the uplifted hand, right? That the Lord Almighty raises against them, and the land of Judah will be in terror to the Egyptians. Everyone who Judah will mention will be terrified because of what the Lord Almighty is planning against them. Right? Um, it's very interesting, right? It's very, 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 very interesting to me. So, uh, yeah. Anyway, I think it's interesting. I'm not going to say "Thus saith the Lord." I just don't do that. But I find it really interesting. And there's yeah. Let's see. I want to say the burden against Sodom, because it does a similar thing. Yeah. Here and then Isaiah 43. Yeah. So anyway, I'm not gonna, I don't want to play around with being a preacher or teacher. It's a higher standard, right? I'm just like, I'm your buddy. I'm sharing you with the interesting things I found. Let me real quick. I just want to say hey to everybody who has dropped in. Well, I wasn't paying attention. So Bill and Polly and I got Bill and Paul going back and forth, and of course Daryl was saying hi. And thanks so much, guys, for dropping by. It's, again, very random, but I haven't been particularly well for quite some time. Not super great now, but better than I was, and I know that all of us who follow Dad are going through it and going through it hard, and so I know I'm not. I know I'm not alone in that. In fact, I'm very clear on knowing that when I'm struggling, I know that some of my closest friends will be as well, because the enemy isn't particularly clever or that he doesn't do much different, and often doesn't need to, right? Just
Count all joy when these things happen to you for Christ's name.
yep.
Because first look what they did to Jesus. I mean, we can't compare to him, man, and they did him dirty.
No, exactly, and he says very clearly, right? He's like, if they did it to me, right, what will they do to you? And
what,
and
what
and there will come a day when those who kill you will think that they're doing God a service, and they
they say
will.
they're doing
It's not hyperbole, right? It's for real.
No, it's literal.
Yeah, and I in fact, I think there will be a good portion of them, right? Once, but again, I could be totally wrong, but bear with me. The idea that if we, it says they'll give breath to the beast so he can speak, right? And that anybody who should not bow down and worship the beast should be killed. And it's really easy for them just to go, hey, look, we're going to do you a favor. You can't get there now, right? We'll just whack in. You come back, and next time you have a better chance, right?
Yeah,
You're too
and the
dumb to.
reincarnation, brother. Yeah, you
Yep.
can do it again. Come
Yeah.
back, you'll do better next time,
Exactly
right?
right. You're too dumb to get it now. So just like day after tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
Like lather,
do it
rinse.
again.
Yep, do it again until you get it. You'll get it right one of these days.
Yeah,
But mankind
man, this life
cannot.
doesn't matter.
Mankind cannot progress or evolve until everybody does it. And so just like, I mean, I don't know how many I got to go through, whether it's childhood's end, right, or
Yeah.
mode in God's eye or ring worlds, or how many of the these things we want to go through, where the story is right there, right? They tell us openly, this is the story. Of course, afterwards they go, it's a story. You don't know the difference between reality and a story. Come on. But yeah,
Foreshadowing.
truth in movies lies in the news over and over and over. Take your pick.
Foreshadowing. Yeah.
Take your pick. So anyway, there is so many things going on, in the world right now. So many things that are of such import, right? And would be, at least certainly concerning, and I would say would for many people terrifying, right? And that people don't know what to. Oh, here's the other crazy one. I just heard Benjamin Netanyahu, not 30 hours ago, use the word in this exact order. Peace, prosperity. We're gonna. I'm like, oh, and when they say peace, prosperity, then sudden destruction. It's like, holy
Then
shit, man!
war,
It's like
war.
right on cue, man. It's like peace and prosperity, and it's like
They
when they cry peace and safety, sudden
there
destruction, man.
Lord beware.
Yeah,
See, flee to the hills,
yeah.
Judea.
It's just like, man, it couldn't have been like, whoa, did you have to say that? Just like the
You
first time
know,
I heard
speaking of
1992.
Isaiah, woe to those who call evil
Good,
good and good
good, evil.
evil.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's coming, man. Everybody, like, they've inverted the rainbow, what God's promised to save the world.
Everything. Yeah,
I'll never do it again. They made it a Sodom and Gomorrah symbol.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
I mean, but everything, right? This is what I have learned in
everything.
the, I don't know, throughout my life, but certainly in the 11 years now since I discovered the big one, about the geometry, and then realizing that that it's not just some things, it's everything. Like they lied about everything.
Everything.
And so it only makes sense to do that, right? Because if you steal from people where their history and who they are, right, that they cannot they cannot fight. They're in a boat. They're in a dinghy, a life raft out there in the ocean. They have no idea, right? And
Generation lost in space,
yep,
man.
lost, and that's exactly where the the Corpus Mundi, that the Pope rules the world, right? That, oh, you're lost at sea, you're a lost soul, and we got you, right? And that's where all that garbage, right, with the birth and vessel, all that stuff comes from, right? You get all that woo and esoteric stuff. That
Maritime law bullcrap,
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
exactly. And so, but they have lied about everything. And then, right, so the nature of the lie is so overwhelming that for most people, you just can't break free. It's so big, it's so much. And even for those who do, right, we can see the result. Some people just can't take it, right? It breaks their mind. And then you got others who, for whatever reason, and we can speculate, but go big on one side and then do a rug pull, right, to make people guess, right. So now they now what, right? Those who joined this thinking that they're on the right path, right, and they have the people they thought they could trust, do that, right. So
For
now,
we know they were never truly part of us, for they
well,
departed from us.
that's what I
That's
said.
what Jesus
Right,
said.
and that's also what I said, that I didn't tell anybody, right? Because nobody's gonna believe me, right?
Nobody's going to.
So not everybody, right? I don't know everything about everybody, but a
The-
couple of them I could, pretty clearly see on what side the bread was buttered, and
I always loved you, Baldini, because I asked J Bro about you and he verified you were certified by J Bro.
well, that's all I ever asked, right?
That's
I
the
mean,
first thing I went to. I said, I'm going to pray about this guy, and he verified you.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate Dad doing that, right? That
Yeah,
that he trusts me enough with that, right? I'm just
I appreciate that he trusts me enough with that info.
Well, as I always said, man, look, I'm just a guy trying to get there as best I can, right? But I love people, and if I can, I'll help as best I can. But
So
don't look to me for the answers, man. I'm not that guy, right? But I will try to encourage you, right? And even for a time, stay away if I can't be encouraging, because man, I didn't have a lot of. It's been a rough road, right? And again, I don't say that so you'll feel sorry for me. I don't want that at all. I'm saying it so that you know that you're not alone, right? I know that if you're walking this road, your feet are blistered just as much as mine are, or more, right? And I found that I have no room to talk about, oh, poor me. I mean, I've gone through a fuck ton, no doubt, and more than I've ever gone through or seen anybody really go through in such a short period of time, right? But right,
how else you
I'm not
get the
dead
kid?
yet. Ain't nobody nailed me up to a tree yet, right? So, I still don't have it that bad, so I can still. One of the things I always have learned about walking these difficult paths is um, when you go through it, it gives you compassion for those who are going through it as well in a way that I never could have if I had not had the kind of challenges that have beset me over the last few years, I never could have truly understood um, what some people go through, and to help me, love them better, because that is what I feel. My call is to do, is just to try to love people as best I can, and I'm frankly kind of a knucklehead, and so I don't always do great at it. Certainly in my early life, and I do try to. I feel like I've done better in my later life, but there are plenty of egrets, or are egrets, regrets, and that I wish I had done things differently when I was younger, right? Um, but but now I'm, I have told those who are close to me, right, with the troubling stuff with health and all that stuff, is that, I mean, ultimately, it's, I trust Dad, right? He is good, and so though he slay me, yet I will trust him, right? If that's what he chooses to do, good, right? Like, one of the things for sure I can say about this is that, maybe the blessing is that I don't love it too much, right? That it is not so hard to let go when it's my time, right? Because I don't, I don't love it, and I'm not gonna, punch my own time card. That's not on the bingo card. But I'm, I'm not one of those guys who's gonna do try to move heaven and earth for 5 more minutes. I just don't love the smell of it that much. It's a
Concur, brother.
because I know what comes after. I know who Dad is, and I desperately want to be in his presence. And so the way for me to do that is to walk the road I've been given, and do the best I can to honor him in that, and to not embarrass him. That's
He
my
did
biggest fear,
endorse
right? Is
me.
that I make him look, bring shame. I want to do that, right? But I just want to get home, and if possible help others along the way. And that's it. So, but to that end, I do feel like I should continue as best I can doing this, and maybe, right, it's for the best that again I had to take a break, because during that time I didn't do nothing. I'd been watching, right, and paying attention, and certainly again seeing the burden that I carry is not any heavier than some others, right? So yeah, but anyway, I just want to say, as I kind of wrap up here, man, uh, I would be remiss if I didn't again say, David and Jenny, thank you so much for continuing to stay close and to check in on me, right, when I'm not doing particularly well. And Daryl, right, if you're still here, man, thank you so much. I can never really properly thank you. And again, meaning to give you
Well,
a call here, just go say, hey, I got some things I want to send your way. But anyway, but for those who have continued to be a friend, and drop in from time to time, thank you, right? And thanks for checking in with Dad, um, and you know I continue to pray for you as well, right? And I have a long list of people that I continue to pray for daily, because that's one thing that adversity certainly brings, is me to my knees. And so in times of adversity, that is when I'm closest to Dad. And having been in the midst of adversity for quite some time now, I probably, I've never been closer. So anyway, to that end, again, thank you, David, for being a friend, and for taking care of my friend Jenny, because she needed um,
she
a
takes care of
companion.
me all the times more than I take care of her. And I would say thank you, brother, because if it wasn't for you, like literally, me and Jenny were your number one lieutenants, is why we ever met. We stood by you doing all the things, and I have no regrets about that. I know who you are, and I know your character. You're one of the best friends I've ever had, brother, and I love you.
I love you too,
We'll
brother.
stick by you. We'll stick by you to the end. Because I prayed to J Bro and he showed up. Like, and most people don't know this, but I needed $200 one time to make a bill, and I didn't tell Baldini about it. I never said anything to it. We had a chat, and then he sent me $200, and he said he prayed, and God told him that. I prayed to God for $200. I never told Baldini, and he sent it to me. That means we're talking to the same fella, Jay Bro,
That
upstairs.
happened
And
quite
that's
quite a
why
bit back
I
then.
trust Baldini inherently. That's why can't nobody tell me nothing, because Jesus is my best friend. I was an atheist for 25 years, and I was a God's darn fool. And he's real, and he's there, and he loves you, and he loves Baldini, and me love him, and that's why we're friends. And he met me and Jenny is one for us. That's why Baldini is the godfather of Lola, our daughter, right now. Because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't know each other. And that's why I always love Baldini. He's my father from another grandma, and he's my brother from another mother.
I love you
And
guys,
I'll
man.
always have his back.
And Winston, I see. I love you so much.
Winston's cool. I love Winston, man. I ain't seen you in years, Daryl Davis. I see you in chat. And Bill Wool, I don't know you, but I'm glad you're
I
here.
remember
Oh, it's
Bill
like
Wall.
old home week here, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, yeah, again,
yeah. Sorry, I had to miss part of that with the
She was putting the
baberino.
baby down. She's turned up.
Oh man, yeah.
She loves her daddy, and when I'm not around, like, she gets mad. She'll scream.
yeah.
She's a daddy's girl. I can't wait for you to meet her, man. You gotta come out here.
Oh, I know. Like she had me wrapped up around like before the first picture. I'm like, oh dear, it's another one, right? like
She's
like
so smart. She says broke, blue, mama, dada,
that's awesome.
like nose,
I
mouth,
love the
ear.
videos you guys send me. She's just couldn't be.
She ain't even 2 years old yet. She's 21 months old, and she knows all the words.
Oh man,
Loves
her-
to color.
Loves the color.
awesome. That is awesome. I love you guys so much, and take care of each other, and
Oh.
continue to pray for those around us, right? And
We will. Allison Briscoe, we see you in
Yay.
chat. Hey,
Allison,
Allison, we
hi.
love you too, honey.
it's a good crew. I
Yeah,
gotta.
it's a solid crew, man. This is good people.
Yeah, I got to. I'm gonna have to duck. I hit my limit, and I know when I get there, I got to stop. So,
Well, it's never enough, brother. Me and you could talk for
I
days.
know.
You know what I mean?
I know, and no matter how long it's been in between, it's always like it's never 5 minutes ago. So, again, for people who have dropped by, I'm so sorry. I know it's hard to kind of understand me. I do my best, without the
You sound good, brother.
Soon enough, I'll hopefully be able to
Dude, you
finish up the
sound
implant
good.
things, and we'll be able to talk again. Until then, I'll just try to. I'll try my best.
Like, we're in the same boat, man. You sound better than I do without my teeth. I'm telling you, these are all fake too, and you sound great, man. I'm telling you, you sound good. I can say I used to listen to you go to sleep all the time. I'm like, fuck, I wish Baldini would put out something I go to sleep to. Yeah.
Well, I'm just not gonna, put them in and flap around until I can get them to bed. Because I tried it and it wasn't working at all. So anyway, kids, I love you so much, and friends, Bill and Allison, Daryl and Winston, you guys, thank you so much for.
Send Maddie our love, man, for sure.
will,
Me and Jenny love you guys. Tell Matt we love you too, man.
I will. You guys are awesome. And with that, I guess I'm just gonna kind of dip and play a little tune on the way out. And you guys are terrific. Thanks again so much for being here and just. So with that, hey guys, I'll talk to you again soon, and I guess I don't have anything else. I'm just done. Anyway, I love you guys. Be well, and we'll just try to do it again. I'll do it every time I can.
Sooner rather than later, brother.
Take care.
Everybody, Jesus loves you. He's the way, the truth, and the light.